everybody. I'm going to lower this a little bit. Nice to see you. I hope you're having a good day and learning a lot. I am excited. I'm Galen Troyer, and I'm here from Miami-Dade County, but I'm talking about something that's bigger than Miami-Dade County, which is pretty exciting, and it is our Tech Hub designation. This way? That way? Do I have to point it somewhere? It's buzzing. Next slide. Oh, there we go. Oh my gosh. You guys, this is very good. Except it's not. That's the bad thing, right? No, we have this problem with sea level rise. I think most of you have heard about this. It is very much happening. That is part of our context. Also, hurricanes are getting bigger. There was just a paper that came out hypothesizing about Category 6 hurricanes. And they're measuring these hurricanes that get above a certain level, and they've all happened since 2013. So maybe it is time for that. And we can see these damages are very real. This is the world that we live in. This is our home. I think every summer hurricane season, we all deal with this. But at the same time, our housing prices just keep going up. We're in a housing crisis. Even as sales went down with rates going up, our prices kept going up. And we are this, tech renaissance. What is it? We've figured out a new path to tech in South Florida. But in reality, we have attracted a lot of attention and a lot of investment, much more than we have had in the past, which presents new challenges and new opportunities. One of those is that we have been designated in South Florida across the whole region, which is Monroe County, so the Key West all the way up to Palm Beach County. We have been designated as a climate resilience tech hub by the Economic Development Administration. We are one of 31 designated tech hubs. Basically, this is the bet of the federal government that these areas can be the home to regional clusters for global leading technology. And as you can see up here, they're kind of all over the country, which is the point, and they are all over the place in terms of technology. We are the only one that is focused on climate resilient infrastructure, right? So adaptation and mitigation in our built environment. It's pretty exciting. The designation means that among these 31, we're all competing for about 8 grants of $50 to $70 million. That's what I'm spending my time on and why I got here late. That's due in a couple weeks, very seriously. The Tech Hub designation comes with immediate benefits, and it doesn't go away if we don't get the money. So we are the Tech Hub. It's happening here. It's been very gratifying as the person who leads climate tech for the county to be a part of this, because right now, as we prepare for this grant, we are getting about 60 to 70 engaged stakeholders from across the region in meetings every week. And they're not all going to get money, right? This is because they see the vision, they believe in it, and we're building something. But we are going to get the funding, right? We're aiming for that. But there's also branding assistance. There is this intellectual property guidance that is happening from the federal government. And really importantly, we're leveraging it to enhance our relationships with the federal agencies. I think that that's probably one of the most exciting pieces. And down here, it's particularly important because the Biden administration has made a very clear stance that green, gray, and nature-based solutions are what we should invest in. And the potential on this report and the potential return on investment is $279 million per year, I think, if we do these protective measures. And they also make our community more beautiful. And it's something we've been focusing on in South Florida, trying to figure out how to do this. Part of that has been the Southeast Florida Climate Compact. And you can see here what our coalition is, where it stretches. These are some of the partners. In reality, we're going to have about 40 partners, from startups to economic development agencies to universities and major corporations. What is the point? The point of, and like the goal of this organization, this tech hub, is to be the global destination for commercialize and deploy climate resilient technology. The big barrier that we see is getting deployments so that you can get into the market. We actually have a bunch of good technology. It just isn't getting built in right now. And we're gonna leverage the uniqueness of South Florida. We get hit by hurricanes. We have a lot of rain. It gets hot. It gets windy on a regular basis. And in addition, we have the wall of wind and the sustained tank at our universities so that you can do real world testing. So we're gonna expand access to the private sector in those places and provide the startup support necessary. And most importantly, this is gonna drive economic opportunity to underrepresented communities. That is critical and built into the design of what we're doing. This isn't just going to go to protect the wealthy and let the others go away, right? This is really, really important for us. I mean, and that should be, like, I hear a laugh, but I come from academia, and as an adaptation professional, we did a bunch of pretty good adaptation, and it drove inequality. There's some really great research that shows that the investments and these like awesome projects we did actually drove inequality within our communities, which long term, that's not going to work out. So this is kind of the idea. Here's like a little graphic of where we engage through the Tech Hub. It is from the coastline in through the urban setting. It's mostly urban focused for this first part, but we are considering expanding to climate adaptive agriculture. That's super important in our region. But for right now, this initial part, we are focusing, you can see there in the water, there are reefs, and as you go onshore, you can see the hybrid technology, and then we're really focusing on the built environment and how you make it more resilient and also cleaner. And we're doing it through 3 near-term focuses. The first one is coastal defense and artificial reefs and seawalls using nature-based solutions. What does that look like? It looks like something like this. So this is a sea hive. It came out of a DARPA call a number of years ago that was taken up by researchers at University of Miami. They've created these structures that slow the waves, but also create habitat. And they originally were cast. These ones are cast. Now, through some of the partners of the Tech Hub, they're going to be 3D printed. So you can see on the right, that's one print. They are a local 3D printing company that started out 3D printing houses and has now pivoted to coastal infrastructure. And it's very interesting. And then within this, there's going to be coral. That is a huge differentiator down here. We are one of 2 or 3 real hubs in coral research in the world. And we have the research. It hasn't been commercialized. Because of the Biden administration changes to acknowledge that nature-based solutions can help, we now can use coral protection. We can invest in coral protection and get FEMA money and Army Corps money and NOAA money to do it. That unlock happened over the last year. So what we're trying to do is jump on that market and make sure that this could work so we could put these out there. And instead of riprap, this would be the way that they're placing it now, that would be a replacement for riprap. But they're originally designed to be artificial reefs that you can place out in the water that will slow the waves and also create habitat, right? But you need to get the coral that can live there to get a delivery mechanism. We don't have those businesses yet. And so we're working through the Tech Hub. The vision is that through the Tech Hub, we will get this research that's happening and turn it into like real jobs and real businesses. We're also looking at resilient and energy efficient technologies. This right here, anybody know what that is? An air conditioner, yeah, pretty exciting. This one is really exciting, actually. It is an air conditioner that uses desiccant, which is a technology that came out of national labs where you can take a salt solution, some kind of fancy salt solution, use a heat pump and make it more dense, essentially. Like I'm not an expert on this, but essentially what you can do is store up your cooling potential, and then all you need is a small, low energy pump and blower to move the air around. You can get 60%-ish energy gains, they believe, and it can also work better in humid environments, which is where we are. And that's what we're trying to prove with this, right? So this is Blue Frontier. It was invested by Breakthrough Ventures, which is really looking at these like major technologies for decarbonization. And what's awesome is it essentially functions like a battery, right? So let's say you have a lot of cheap electricity in the morning, you can store up your desiccant, and it's like 6 kilowatts, and then you cut it off, and it's 1 kilowatt that it's pulling from the grid, and it can cool you for the rest of the day. So it's pretty interesting. And this technology, it exists, it's here, it needs to scale. I think they've produced about 40. And for this to really be impactful, they're gonna have to be producing like 100,000, right? And that is the goal. And we're doing it through partnerships. So like this unit will be placed in communities that historically wouldn't get them first, right? So we're starting with Florida Memorial University. We've been talking with the Miccosukee Tribe of Florida, and we are also looking at the Museum of Discovery and Science in Fort Lauderdale, and they're going to create an exhibition that can go along with it so that you can really see it. Because that's the other piece. You have to know that it's there. I mean, if you go into a building, there's no way that you can know that this is here or really understand what a desiccant HVAC unit is unless you can really get inside of it. So like, I couldn't understand it until I got to go and like, they opened up the side and you can see inside, you can see the tanks and you can see where, okay, that's the heat pump. This is the blower. This is where it plugs in. It's pretty cool. And that's not the only one there. The concept is that we'll go into these campuses and buildings and really make them demonstration sites for this technology that makes the buildings more efficient in a high humidity, high wind, high rain environment. And so, for example, like with this unit, you could take iterations of it and put it in the wall of wind, right, at FIU, blow on it, and say like, okay, this isn't going to fall apart, right? It can handle this. We can put it in this kind of a location at this angle. It'll be fine. And that's kind of the idea, but that costs money, and one of the biggest challenges is just getting in the queue to do that. And so we're lowering the barriers to getting that stuff done. And then finally, there's resilient grid and marine renewable energy. There's a lot that could go in here, but one of the differentiators in South Florida is, I think it's SNEMREC is the name, but it is a center for marine renewable energy at FAU. And we have potentially a 5 gigawatt source of renewable energy right off the coast if we put these turbines into the Gulf Current. It hasn't been unlocked yet. We do not yet have a cable running out there. That's really the barrier to entry, but they've been developing relationships with the manufacturers. And what we're going to try and do is develop the supply chain here. And then we believe that they'll come because this is the closest current to a major population and a major energy user, right? And then the question with it, though, is how do you integrate this new type of energy into the grid, right? Because our grid was built for gas and nuclear, and in the past, some coal, but now it's being tuned to the new solar. And can this help that or not? We actually have to prove that to partners like FPL. That is, I believe, the end. Nope. Oh, no, there's a little more. So in this one, I wasn't sure if I kept this, but this is like a lot of detailed information about how we're doing it. And I'd be happy to just like answer a question or two. But we are doing demonstration facilities. We're working on manufacturing scale up. We're looking at these strategic pipelines, which it's like, how do you actually get to market? That is a big problem for a lot of these climate tech companies because they're displacing some incumbent, but they're doing it in a more environmentally conscious way. It has that environmental benefit. It's not always bottom line, right? There's a community engagement. Marketing is huge. We have to tell the story. This is what we're hearing from the White House on the CHIPS. So this is a CHIPS Act funded initiative. And with these like large chip manufacturers, one of the challenges that they're seeing is these are like almost generational time frame investments, right? They're like 5 to 10 years and longer. And for us, for climate change, like this is a big shift. And what they're saying is that you need to share your early wins, otherwise you lose it. You lose momentum, you lose the community. And so that's why we got to do communications. We got to get out, talk to you all, refine our pitch, refine the stories, and then ultimately we got to change policy. And that is going to be key, right? So like you think about, you guys heard about the new amazing HVAC that uses desiccant. It doesn't fit a lot of local regulations because you have to meet a minimum cooling standard, or it's like a compression standard. It doesn't compress air that way, right? That's not what it does. It functions in a different way that's never mentioned in the code. That doesn't mean it couldn't be, but you got to get it in there, right? And this is something that they're running into. You can't go to every, this is not scalable for the business to go into each community and say like, oh my God, yeah, I know. It's going to be good enough, but it doesn't do the thing that your code says it has to do at all. And so that is really, that's exciting. I think that I have 4 minutes left, according to this. And that is the story. A lot of what we're doing is building the network, right? So if you all want to be a part of it, I think, yeah, right here, there is the ability to join in. We have an ecosystem that we're putting together. I think if you Google this is live now. I know you can't click on it, so I'm sorry about that. But it should be on Opportunity Miami's website. And we have something like 300 businesses and individuals right now that are on there, including a good 100 that are very active because we're getting 60 to 70 of them every week. And you can be a part of it there. And we have designation forever. So this is the bet of the federal government that we will be the global center for commercializing climate resilience tech, particularly around infrastructure, right? Particularly to solve our problems here, because these are like scalable big problems that exist all over. Thank you. I'm happy to take a question or whatever you want to do, Ken. Yeah? Anybody have a question? A comment? No? Oh, yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Drew. I saw a hand over there.
Yeah, specifically the Blue Frontier.
Uh-huh.
As far as funding goes, if it was like a science center somewhere or something within the geographic region, is that something that's available for this particular product?
It's a little complicated. Like it would depend. I mean, if you have a place and you want to get a Blue Frontier box, it's totally possible. It just costs more right now, right? Like it costs, I think it's like 3 times more than an equivalent traditional box. But they're still proving out the science, right? So they've done 40-ish. That casing is made in Canada. They ship it down here in Palm Beach County. They put in the pieces. They haven't fully standardized it for manufacturing and scale, right? Because they're still tuning it. These things work, but they have to prove it, and they have to make sure that it's not going, like you don't have problems that you didn't anticipate. But it is possible. I would say reach out to Blue Frontier and start talking to them now and get in the queue. The thing that we're trying to do is jump the queue for some local folks, and at the same time raise that visibility, because the places where they're installing it now are like big box retailers, right? Fortune 500 companies that are like, oh yeah, we've got so many of these, and they're putting them in parallel, right? So you've got like an older unit, they put the new one next to it, and they run them together right now. And that's where they are, but hopefully within 2 years, they are right now seeking the manufacturer funding. But I think it's a great question, right? Like this stuff, these are the questions that we have to get into in the community, and then say like, who can solve that? Who has the manufacturing site, right?
You mentioned that the grant money is for the region, correct?
Yeah.
Now, how does that work? If you're applying for the grant, can that be shared
W- where are you from? Great. So I don't think Miami-Dade County is actually going to get much money ultimately from this. We're leading it because a mayor said, like, really, Mayor Levine Cava is like, this is important. You are working on climate tech. You should spend your time applying. We're applying as the lead, but ultimately that money is going to go and be spun out into an independent 501c3. And the funds that we're going to get right now are mostly for scale ups on these. It's about $50 million, which seems like a lot, but we have been spreading it actually, I think, too thin. We're trying to figure out how to bring it in. I'm not saying that so that's like a long way of saying, like, for this grant round, we don't have money for municipalities, but I think that for a place like Boca, Blue Frontier is right next to you, and OnePrint is printing at a Titan facility not far from you, and I think it's worth starting to watch what they're doing, and that would be the benefit, because then specifically, for example, is you're applying to federal funding for coastal resilience, right? Some kind of resilience or some kind of infrastructure. You want to make it more resilient. And if you wanted to have a locally produced 3D printed portion of that, you could do that with OnePrint, right? And understanding where that would be appropriate would be helpful. But we do know from talking to the feds that these agencies right now are more interested in hybrid and cleaner options. So I think that there's that part where it would like enhance some of your grants. And also, I imagine like one of our goals is to create a better funding mechanism, right? Or a place where folks who want to apply for funding to get this technology know where to go and could get the backing, right? Like once it's set up, because we don't have the entity yet, but once it's set up, if you have an application, we could write a letter of support or just in general connect you to the right people, right? Yeah. Are we good? That's it. Oh, there's one more, but I will talk to you one-on-one. Cool. Thank you so much.